the guardian of the forest path. Late in the evening, four friends, Chris, Mike, Jenna, and Tyler, gathered at the edge of an old forest. They ran a small channel on the internet where they told scary stories around a campfire today. They decided to do what they had previously only done in the comment section. Tonight, everything would be different. They decided to test a real legend. The camera was already recording. The flames crackled, casting red glows on the friends' faces. The forest around they seemed too dark, as if with every word they spoke, the trees were getting closer. Each of them had their own story, about abandoned houses, about footsteps in the night, about eyes in the bushes. However, the friends' conversations led to the same topic. "Have you heard about the old trail?" Chris asked. "They say it chooses who to let in and who not to let in." Mike smiled, but his voice trembled with tension. "The one that leads to the old abandoned laboratory? Nobody goes there." Jenna said fearfully, "If you walk to the end of it, you can see an old guard who still keeps order. The main thing is to keep walking and not turn around, because if you do, he'll notice you." Chris laughed. "It's just a story. We'll shoot a video and prove to everyone that it's just a legend." A gust of wind blew sparks from the fire, sending them flying upward. Tyler turned and looked toward the forest. "What are we waiting for?" he said. "Our subscribers have been asking for a real investigation for a long time. We're going there. Today?" For a second, it seemed as if someone sighed deep in the trees. It was a slow, quiet sigh, as if the forest itself was listening to them and waiting for their decision. And at that moment, none of them knew that this video would be their last, the last one they would shoot together as a foursome. And they went into the forest, where it was too quiet. Their footsteps on the moss sounded muffled, as if the earth was swallowing the sound. An hour later, the trail led them to an old wooden house. The friends exchanged glances and entered the cabin. The door creaked. Inside, they saw an armchair, a stack of charred magazines, and other very old things. In the center of the room stood a table on which Tyler noticed a metal whistle. Tyler picked it up from the table and said, "Someone probably whistled it to scare away wolves." Without thinking twice, he blew it. The whistle was high-pitched, but it seemed to go on forever. At that moment, a whistle answered from somewhere far away. They exchanged glances. Mike joked, "It's probably an echo." However, Jenna pointed out, echoes don't respond twice. She was right. The whistle sounded twice, and the second time it was much closer. Chris pointed the camera toward the trees. "Let's film it! This is great content!" The light from the camera caught a silhouette. A tall, thin man stood between the trees, wearing a long cloak, his face hidden by a hood. Chris wanted to tell his friends about it, but the figure immediately disappeared. "That's it, let's go," Jenna whispered. "I don't like this." However, the road back seemed to have disappeared. Where they had been walking, there was now only fog. Tyler looked around. The fog was moving as if it were alive. The same whistle came from inside, now very close. "I think someone's following us," said Mike. Footsteps could indeed be heard coming from the fog, slow, measured steps, as if someone were walking on gravel, even though there was moss underfoot. And then, in the gap between the trees, they saw him, a tall man in an old security guard's uniform. He raised his hand and pointed at them. "Intruders!" he said in a hoarse voice. Tyler started running. The others followed him. The further they ran, the thicker the fog became. The sound of the guards' footsteps followed them. At dawn, only 3 were found: Jenna, Mike, and Chris. They sat by the road, silent, their eyes frightened. Tyler was not with them. He had disappeared. He had not come out of the forest with them. Chris tried to explain. He stayed there. He looked back, and the forest path guard took him away. No one has seen Tyler since. Only an old sign was found in the forest. It was half rotten, sticking out of the ground. It read, "Guard post, no entry without permission." Since then, the locals say, if you hear a whistle at night, don't answer, don't turn around, and don't go toward the sound, because the guard is still on duty. He doesn't tolerate trespassers. And if you look between the trees, sometimes you can see someone standing in the fog.